Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Yes.
What happened today? Was there some kind of,
Oh,
you
I
gotta
have to I
fiddle
have to
things
go
around?
to my accountant and I have to work as well later on, so I'm just like trying to fit everything in. So that's
Gotcha, gotcha. Yep,
yeah.
no drama to it. It's funny because you're like, it's a long shot. And this client that I've got who's usually super reliable, she's had a sick kid, so she had to cancel
Oh,
today. So
okay, that's
wo-
all right.
worked out well for you.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, what are we gonna talk about right now?
So what I'm gonna do, what I'd like to do is, as I've mentioned, I'm trying to sort of build a school, right? Online education, all about consciousness, neuroscience, perception, human
Yeah.
flourishing, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to do is, well, we'll just keep it as a casual conversation.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm recording this. Keep it as a casual conversation where we just discuss your experiences with the Gateway,
Yeah.
right? So the Gateway program, the trainings, the kind of little lecture series that we just did. And what I would like to be able to do is publish this. So to be on my public YouTube channel, it would also be available to other members in the school so they
Yeah.
can see this. Um, Obviously, if you don't want that, that's completely fine. There's
That's
no
okay.
obligation to do it, but it just helps me. Then I've got people can look into some of the stuff that we're doing and they can not just feel like it's some faraway course, but hear you. And it's a one-on-one conversation, which is
Mm.
how I like to deal with most of my clients, right? One-on-one with some group stuff.
Yeah.
So by recording this, I can get your experiences. I don't care what you say. You can say anything. You can tell me all about it, and we can just have a nice casual conversation. That
Yeah.
way, the casual observer, passerby gets a look into your life, a look into your experiences, and could see, yeah, maybe that would work for me, or maybe that would be something I'm interested in as well.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you wanted to say before I prompt you? I'll ask you a number of questions, but do you have anything on the top of your mind that you want to talk about?
I didn't think that you're gonna prompt me, so I was gonna give you my feedback
Yeah.
on everything. But if you want to start prompting, I'm happy to.
Well, I guess the first question I had was really like, what were you going into this expecting?
Um, I did not know what to expect. I thought that there was going to be some interesting experiences by having a much more balanced um, I guess meditation practice. I found that I practice Vipassana and is it can be tough. So I was really interested in experiencing this and yeah, it was. Yeah.
So you already knew that there was something like Vipassana associated with this?
I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that Vipassana can be very tough, you know. So I was interested to see what this was going to unfold, like how it was going to unfold.
Right,
I
right.
because it was a guided meditation, it was through sound, and so yeah,
Yeah. And so, because Vipassana is very much, they do give you instruction, but you have to practice entirely on your own for most of it, right? And it's just dedicated
where
time.
you to be able to achieve I mean, let's talk about achievements, but to be able to get drop into those states, your breathing has to be so subtle. There's so much stillness in all your body, and to achieve that you have to sit down for very long periods of time. I mean, once you are beginning like I am, I
Yeah.
guess other people will be dropping, faster, but to be able to drop there at least minimum like an hour, and then you drop into that state. But I was like, okay, so this must be a very interesting meditation experience without all that time in spent into it.
Cool, cool. So as a meditator myself, having
Mm.
done a number of Vipassanas, I know exactly what you mean. And especially in the beginning, like as you're learning the stuff, it's quite a grueling process, right? Like you have to get rid of a lot of baggage and getting into that stillness takes time because our mind doesn't do
Mm,
that easily, at least
mm.
by itself.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
So did you find that the gateway training helped you achieve those states rapidly?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just very interesting to drop into a very quiet space and just find so much stillness in a much shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you didn't know much of what to expect. What were you hoping to achieve? Not necessarily going into it, but by the time we'd had a conversation or two, like what was the
Mm.
expectation or hope or desire that was built up for you out of this?
To find more balance and focus. I remember, yeah, really wanting to be able to find more clarity and yeah, be like super laser sharp.
Okay,
And yeah,
I like it.
yeah.
Were there, well, how close did you get to achieving that? And were
Well,
there any, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, well, I think because of I know what is opening up for like through this course is a life journey. It's just dropping into or entering a very, I mean, a space that I've never actually explored before. So this is huge. Like this is transformative. Like I will be definitely exploring so many different layers and areas that I didn't know. I'm started to read things that I was not even interested or curious about doing, but there's so much value in it that I'm just okay now. Um, can you repeat the question? I don't want
Yeah,
to I don't want to get
that's
you.
okay. Yeah, so what were you hoping to achieve, basically, is
Yeah.
the crux of it. And it's not necessarily what were you going in hoping to achieve, but once you had a sense that, oh yeah, this can help me. So then what did you want it to help you with? So you said clear-mindedness,
Oh
clear
yeah.
thinking,
So
etc.
that's right. So because it's an unknown area, there is a little bit of fear, and I want to be prepared for certain things that I think are coming up. So I haven't quite been consistent as I could have been during the course. So have I? The question was, what have you achieved, or like what have you, you know?
Yeah, so the two parts, what did you want to achieve? And then did you find yourself achieving it, or have you
Yeah,
had flashes of achievement of that thing?
yeah,
Like you can see
yeah,
it's
yeah. So
realizable? Yeah.
I had experiences of like the potential of achieving it, and I have put the brakes on it because I want to prepare. And so, yeah, if I haven't quite dropped into all of this, is because I am cautious. I'm just wanting to. I have a lot of fear in when it comes to my dreaming states because I have experienced very
Yeah.
like lucid dreams that are quite yeah, I guess I guess challenging. So I just want to be prepared. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So I guess it sounds like you wanted to be a little bit more or have less fear around some of the aspects of your own consciousness,
that's fine.
whether it's dreams or your hopes and visions, ideas for the
Absolutely.
future.
Yeah,
So less apprehensive about things that could possibly happen to you or for you.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess the way I put it was a bit dramatic, but I guess just as an example, I had a lucid dream with a polar bear, and it was huge, and it like telepathically like kind of like point me to swim to the other side, and I'm like wanting to do it, but then I was like, he's gonna eat me. Like, so it's like fear, not trusting what's happening, and all of these things. It's just a dream, but even though I was lucid, that I into it. So it's like, okay, how much can I actually explore if I'm just got a lot of fear to work through?
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
mm,
Awesome.
mm.
Just as a side note, I knew you and I were going to have this chat today. And you were in my dream last night.
Oh, really? What
Yeah.
happened? What
Well,
happened?
it's kind of funny. It's a little bit personal.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't care. You and I have known each other for ages, right?
yeah. No.
Um, so and if anyone is gonna listen to this after, so you and my brother dated, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In this dream, you and I were dating.
yeah.
And we were, it had seemed like because you and I have got a lot of history. We've been friends for ages. You know,
Yeah,
we've, I don't know, just shared some really interesting experiences together.
yeah,
And so it was kind of like we had been together for a really long time. You know, that stage when you're in a long-term relationship with someone, you just have that sort of
yeah.
knowledge. So that was quite interesting. It was
Mm,
like you and I were almost like in that long-term almost like marriage kind of relationship where there was just this
yeah.
knowing. So it's interesting that you talk about this like the polar bear and it telling you stuff telepathically. And because that's been a theme for the gateway stuff is the idea that we can share information with each other and gather information
Mm,
without having to physically like read it or listen to it,
mm,
etc. And so
mm.
it felt like there was some level of telepathic connection between you and me.
Well, on that note, can I just share then what happened to me a few days ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I had this dream about a continuation of an experience that I never got an answer for. And
Yeah.
it was not a big deal, but I was like, what was that? It was a time that we went to Bulimba and we hung out at the park, and then we saw a mini on the way back. It was like that we went out together, like for an
Is
ice
this
cream or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. We were near, was it near Pacific Fair, I
No,
think it
that
was?
was no, that was at the
Oh, sorry,
cinema in
Balimba. Sorry, I
Bulimba,
thought you
not
meant,
Oxford Street.
sorry. Yeah, you said Balimba. I was thinking down Gold Coast. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and we saw Minnie on the way back.
Yeah, do you remember that?
No, I don't have a clear memory.
Yeah. You called me out. That was a
Oh,
call out of
yes,
the blue.
yes,
That
yes,
was
yes,
such
yes. I do
a
remember.
out of the blue hangout. And I'm like, and we went there and then we hung out the whole afternoon. And then, cool. On the way back, Minnie was there.
Yeah.
It didn't, it felt a bit awkward,
Okay.
but it didn't at the same time because I knew where I was standing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really awkward. And I never got an answer to that. So this dream was kind of wrapped up in that thing.
Interesting.
So
So what
yeah.
was the message? Was there some kind of, you said you've come to some conclusion or like concluded that experience?
I'll reserve the yeah the conclusion.
Okay. All right. Maybe we'll talk about it later.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Yeah, but
okay.
that happened a few days ago,
Yeah.
and then you telling me this dream that so I yeah, it's very interesting talking or exploring telepathy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go on to that then. Were there aspects of, say, certain conscious phenomena? Because we talked about
Mhm.
altered states, we talked about consciousness expansion,
Hmm.
levels of consciousness, and then things that can come out of it. Like if
Hmm.
we're in constant communication through vibration, the idea that telepathy is real and we can actually tap into that.
Hmm.
These are the things we talked about. So did those conversations open you up to a new way of looking at, say, conscious phenomena? Is there anything that was in there that you hadn't expected, but
Oh
have
yeah,
stuck with you?
there's a lot that I was not expecting. Uh, there since I've like let's say that when I started doing the wave two, the second wave, I found that I am so much more flexible to make decisions. I am making decisions sideways. I've I've been really bad at it, and I'm exploring like solutions I that I was a bit rigid about,
Sure.
and I'm like I find myself doing things I'm being adulting today. So it's like these things that I had like for 3 years kind of like on hold. I'm like I gotta get into that, and I'm doing it responsibly, but not like, oh, I gotta do this, it's just mad at ease.
Mm,
And yeah, I had a few appointments last week that I was procrastinating for ages. So just making decisions and it's just happening super quick. And I'm very happy about that actually.
fantastic. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because it sounds, well, you came in with some creative ideas that you wanted to pursue, right? You wanted to improve your creativity, but it sounds like what's happened is it's improved your organization and productivity, which these are, I think, complementary ways of approaching life. So,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
so
Can
tell
I
me a
give
bit
you
about
my
that.
can I give you my thought on that?
Yeah, please.
It's actually a creative process as well, if you look at it very in detail. And like in terms of organization and productivity, have a look at the tiny little decisions that actually expand that productivity. And this is the decisions that I do the big things and I get stuck in the small things, and it's been my thing always.
Hmm.
And I'm just doing the small things that I was not able to. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at.
I
Can you see that?
I think so. So I like to think of it as, patterns and
Yes,
details,
yes,
right? So
yes,
it's just big
yes.
picture and
It is the
analysis.
small little decisions
Yeah.
to tackle the big ones in a much um in a different way. It's like expanding. So
Mhm.
by doing these little things, when I get to the big picture, it's gonna
Yeah.
look so much different, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be transformed anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like that because what potentially was happening, you had creative ideas and you
Mm,
thought to focus on them, you had to focus on the big picture. But now you've realized that in order to get that done, you actually have to get the details right. You have to do the little things appropriately so that then it allows it, it's sort of like it reduces friction to be able to do the creative stuff.
yeah,
Is that fair?
it's fair. And I always outsource that part. I
Yeah.
always got someone else to do that for me because I was
Sure.
like had a little resistance to doing those things. But if I get to do that part as well, that will complement my work in the big picture.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that gets to the heart of what Gateway is trying to do is to integrate the analytical way of thinking with the holistic, creative way of thinking. And so the whole idea behind hemisync is hemispheric synchronization, and the two hemispheres of the brain have slightly different roles. The left hemisphere is slightly more oriented towards analytical, computational thinking, whereas the right hemisphere towards creative, big picture thinking. When you get them oriented, well, unified, integrated correctly, then you can do kind of both. You operate from both hemispheres and they harmonize with each other. So it
Yeah.
sounds like what was happening had what this process has done is helped you to see how they connect properly, and so that you can focus on the details when you have to, so that you can focus on the big picture deal stuff when you want to. And it sounds like that is the direct result of the hemisync.
Yeah. Also, metacognition is much more, is increased more.
Right. So you're more aware of what you're thinking and doing.
Yeah. So I can be above what I'm doing and thinking
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
more. I have noticed that. Yeah.
Okay. There were a couple of moments, like there was about a week or 2 week period, and we were only doing the training for 4 to 6 weeks, and only
Mm-hmm.
really four of those were quite intense, right?
Mm.
Um, but there was a week or two period where you and just about everybody else started to have some quite strong, almost bizarre experiences. Can you just tell me a little bit about it? And the reason I'm asking you now is you said you have this sort of meta perspective.
Mm.
So, how does the meta perspective that you feel like you've gained, how did it start? What was that kind of experience that you had?
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know I don't know specifically what you're talking about. Can you
Well, so okay, the car crash that you had seemed to be the
oh
big
yeah,
thing where you realized you had gained a new perspective,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was very early in the course, and it was actually such a test because I went into the course wanting to be more focused and more, gain more concentration. And that accident made me question how much I was really paying attention and being present to the driving, because, you know, and yeah, it felt almost like in that moment, it kind of like there was a splitting, like a tipping point, and that experience, which because it was, if you see the photos of the car, is completely destroyed. So it's like life and death. And those experiences are very important, like pivotal, because it made you question, all right, what is it that I actually want to do? And I took the direction. I was much more, I guess, committed to what I was doing. The course was really nice for exploring and all that, but I guess after that point, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna pay attention and commit to it. Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of shook you out of what might have become a an inattentive state, like you're just on autopilot,
Mm.
and this kind of snapped you out of it. And because we were doing the training, you felt like it helped you recenter your attention. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely. And the direction that I was taking from that
Right.
moment on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it helped you choose a new direction for your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And also one of the big things that you told us in the chats and when, you and I had a phone call was that you felt very calm and at peace throughout the whole thing,
Yeah.
which, you've had a tendency to be a bit of a worrywart occasionally, let's
Well,
say.
I'm Latin, right? Is
Yeah.
that there's a little bit of, yeah, dramatic um energy there, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I've been receiving challenges from everywhere, and I've never been um so aware of how things are moving around me without letting affect me. That's the best way I can describe it in a short sentence. It's just like I can see the chaos like that, and I'm like, I'm just here like a rock, and um everything will sort itself out in some way. I take accountability and take responsibility, and I take action, but it's more is I'd say, and I was actually looking at this prudence. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I am um, I'm much more centered before making decisions and saying things,
Sure.
just to be much more accurate. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good overview, I think, of what you went in hoping to achieve, like what
Mm-hmm.
your expectations were, what you wanted to achieve, some of the situations you found yourself in,
Mm-hmm.
the outcome you feel being greater clarity, mindfulness, metacognition,
Yeah.
and an integration between the creative and analytical ways of thinking, which is good. Like, obviously these are subjective, anecdotal, but those are the kinds of things that the hemisync training is designed to improve,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I guess maybe one more thing that I'd like to ask about is the more abstract conscious phenomena. So you've talked about lucid dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd like to ask a little bit about your intuition, about your dreams, about strange consciousness experiences, because I think these are something that these all fall under the condition of altered states of consciousness. And the book by Bentov is talking about altered states of consciousness being sort of the fundamental way of expanding your consciousness, right? Is by
Yeah.
starting to alter it slightly. So have you noticed anything different about your intuition, precognition,
Are you like, yeah.
dreams? Yeah.
Okay,
Did,
I missed you for a second.
oh,
What was that?
have you noticed anything different about your intuition, your precognition, any strange conscious phenomena that has come up for you?
Mm, yes. And that's why I'm working on my fears at the moment, because it's the inability to take action or take the intuition, to trust my intuition. Intuition is like really there, but when there's not trust in myself, and there's so much fear around decision making, then I kind of like um yeah, I don't take intuition seriously.
You haven't, but now you do, or you still don't?
I am working on my fears at the moment. Like
Okay.
I'm working on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel like you have the intuition, but you also have a sense of fear, and so you maybe don't necessarily act on your intuition.
That's right.
Okay. And that's what you're currently working on.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
And
Awesome.
it falls or wraps up around telepathy as well, because it's like I know these things, and it happens. I've noticed that with Amelia for so long. Like she comes back from kindy saying this thing that I was thinking the whole time, and like it's always been there. I'm like, this is so interrelated. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but it's yeah. So I'm working on that fears and those things to actually trust the intuition. Yeah.
Great. I like it because my take is that
Mm.
intuition really is the signal that we get. That's the conscious signal that, or the unconscious signal that we're operating on. And a lot of things can interfere with your intuition, fear being a major one.
Mm.
But when you do really connect with your intuition and you start to trust it and have faith in it and use it as your guiding principle,
Mm.
that seems to be, from people who talk about having strange phenomena, conscious experiences, etc. It seems like intuition is the thing that they let guide them.
That's right. Yeah.
So getting in touch with that is like getting in touch with your inner guide. And hopefully the gateway training can accelerate that process.
Yeah. Well, I'm only in wave two.
Right.
Like I just got started.
Okay,
So
yeah, because it was a short course, right? So we weren't going didn't go all the way through.
yeah, I could have, but yeah.
Okay, which leads naturally to the question, are you still practicing or do you plan to still practice?
Yes, I am going to
Yep.
practice. I was
Okay.
reading yesterday a few stories on lucid dreaming, and I'm just getting really started with that. Yeah.
Okay. If we did hold, say, another one of these trainings, because I'm thinking about it in a few ways. One way would be every now and again run like the beginner's course. So, like you just did, where we introduce you right from the start to everything. But it would also make sense to have like an advanced course, right? People
Yeah.
who've gone through the basics, you've read the book, you've read the document, and you've introduced yourself to the basic operation of the training.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in doing another one in the future?
Yes, absolutely. It will be really interesting to continue doing it and then catch up with the people that have also continued from other, not just this
Yeah.
cohort, but others,
Right.
and
Yep.
kind of like build up from that, of course. Yes.
Okay, great. Because that gives me a sense of where I might take this. So what I could do is run a few beginner cohorts
Mm.
and then in time run some advanced cohorts from all the people who've done the beginner thing and anyone of those people who want to run an advanced, we could do that. And that way you get to operate with new people and deepen your
Amazing.
understanding. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that would be, so if that's interesting to you, then that's definitely something I'm going to consider.
Yeah.
My last question really is, do you have any general feedback? Which sounds like that was the thing that you were coming into this to
Um,
give me. So shoot.
I was gonna, it was more than I expected. I mean, I wanted to just, I've, I've done meditation for a while, so I was expecting more calmness and like coming to, but this elevated a few things, and I actually like I've been keeping myself really to myself and being socially kind of distanced because there's so much that I need to integrate and that I've been learning, and I want to kind of like cement that and
Mhm.
just be able to uh yeah, make it part of my life and understand that before I can just yeah.
Right. So,
So yeah,
yep.
yeah. It was incredible. I mean, I want to continue. I found that for me, the readings were a bit too much. Yeah, there's the language and and the complexity of information require more time for me.
Sure.
But um, I like to I learn by practicing, so that's what I'm doing. And then I read it after I practice, and then I'm at that. Yeah, oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yep.
That was the
Cool.
only part that was a bit challenging for me, but everything else has been, yeah, really
Well,
transparent.
I like that feedback because this was my first time running it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I have my own background, and it took me a long time to understand this stuff and piece it all together. So it's not surprising to me that I can't
Mhm.
just completely perfectly communicate it in one shot.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what you said is really important. The fact that it's practice that makes the theory make sense.
Mm.
And so by practicing, you found when you then were exposed to some of the theory, you could see what it meant,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Because I think ho what I'm hoping to do, or what I'm hoping that this achieves is, consciousness research has this problem where it's all abstract theory because we
Mm.
can't measure consciousness, right? We don't have really a great grounded
Mm.
scientific theory of consciousness.
Yeah.
But what this does is it says, well, we should be able to change consciousness or alter consciousness in specific ways by doing these things. If consciousness has these properties, then we should be able to apply these techniques. So hopefully, this practical approach to exploring consciousness from the inside
Mm.
means that we have a better understanding of consciousness and what it is.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to refine how I present the course and the material, try to simplify and try to communicate it better.
On that note, sorry, hold on. Can I? So what I found really useful and I really liked was that you presented the videos. You presented some information that kind of like was um it presented the big picture of what we were reading. So even though reading was a bit difficult for me, I had a better understanding because I had watched the videos and sorry, no videos, the listening. It was it a video, YouTube video? Yeah.
There was I tried to create a whole like multimedia experience. So there were videos, the
Mm.
audio trainings, the reading documents and the book, so that
Yeah.
there was a fair bit.
Yeah, that's
But I'm
right.
also aware there was a lot of information.
It was a lot, but a lot of it also repeated or was an explanation of how these other
Yep.
things were. So it complemented. So it was great to watch those videos and kind of like have the big picture and then go and read. Yeah. And then
Yep.
that
Yep.
everything made more sense. So I really like that.
Great.
Yeah.
Because I hope what it does is it allows if you or any person found some part of it interesting, you could go in and find the detail so you could understand it comprehensively.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Awesome. Okay, and then the other part of what you said was that you've been spending time kind of almost isolating a little bit, integrating so that you feel rock solid and concrete when you go into social situations, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I like that it aligns well with the idea that we're being constantly influenced, right, by those around us, right? If we don't have a rock solid center and we go into a social situation, we're going to take on those characteristics of other people. And often other
Yeah.
people have issues like they've got their own traumas that they project outwards, their own bad habits, whether it's drinking, smoking, whatever that we don't necessarily want to do, right?
Mm.
And that can easily influence us. Whereas if we spend time alone and isolated for some time, obviously not
Yeah.
forever, then you can come into contact with your center. And then when you go out, you're actually a good influence on them rather
Yes.
than them being a bad influence on you.
Yeah. That's right. And you spend less energy trying to set boundaries with
Yeah.
everything because it's
Yeah.
this like once you change the like the veil you're seeing through is just there's so much energy that I feel that I have put to um let's say to go to certain groups of people. It's like it's not really comparable, but is I was doing it just to have company, but I don't need company like I used to need it. So now I'm just like, oh, so when the right energy or the right social situations arise, then I will be putting myself in them. But yeah.
Okay. Great.
Hmm.
Well, those are really all the questions I had. If you have other feedback, anything else that has come up that you wanted to say or talk about, I'd be super happy to talk about it.
No,
But
that's okay. Yeah, I'll give you more feedback when I see you. Yeah.
okay, awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed
Yeah.
little crash course because it was designed to be a short, intensive introduction to the
Mm,
gateway and provide you enough material so that you could do it for yourself. I think to really like get the full benefit, the full context, it takes a fair amount of time and training and integration. So, um, I think in the future
yeah.
we'll look at having follow-up courses. Um, but I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. And any last comments before we wrap?
No, that's it. Thank you for doing that and just for doing it out of the goodness of your heart. That was amazing. Thank you. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, I did say to the group, if you have things like if you have a social media profile or if you have a business or you have something that, other people may want to, know more about you, is there anything that I can share or put out there or you wanted to let people know about?
Um, I am a full-time artist, so yeah, just have a look at my website and yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what is your website?
AngelaSierra.com. Yeah,
AngelaSierra.com.
yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Well, I will have some kind of a link. I don't know. I'll post this in a few places, so I'll try to include a link for you.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.